going to say it's time to pass the Women's Equality Act. As we stand at this historic location where Harriet Mills dedicated her life to the suffrage movement, it is ironic that we have to fight so hard to have a vote on the Women's Equality Act. The numbers show it's time to pass the act. Over 850 organizations and businesses, 72% of Catholics, leaders and citizens from across the state, including our own Mayor Stephanie Miner, support passage of the Governor's Women's Equality Act. The evidence is strong, and with poll after poll showing solid support for passing the Women's Equality Act. The high level of support was consistent upstate, downstate, among men, women, in cities, in suburbs, rural areas, across all ages, groups, party affiliations, and religions. Women want and deserve this. Now is the time for our legislators to pass the Women's Equality Act. And it is my privilege to introduce our Mayor, Stephanie Miner.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you for all that you do. It is important that we stand here today to show our support for the Women's Equality Act. For far too long, we have not been aggressive enough in advocating for our rights. And today we hear too many of our elected leaders saying, wait for tomorrow, wait for tomorrow. We have come through an election season where we saw what happens when women are not vocal about our rights and our needs. And we as a group are standing here today to tell our elected officials in Albany that we will not allow that to happen again. We have rights and privileges, and we believe our daughters, our nieces, and also our mothers and grandmothers all have the rights that we want codified in the Women's Equality Act. So we stand here to say we want to achieve pay equity for women who are currently working, for women who will work in the future. We want to protect reproductive health and choice. We want to stop sexual harassment in all workplaces. We want to strengthen human trafficking laws. We want to end family discrimination status. We want to stop income discrimination. We want to stop housing discrimination. We want to stop pregnancy discrimination. And we want to protect the victims of domestic violence. All of these are important rights that New Yorkers need and are within the ability of elected officials in Albany this week to make sure it happens. So we stand here again to say that we are going to hold you accountable because New Yorkers want these things and New Yorkers will vote on these items. So thank you all very much. So without, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that anyone has.
Mayor, part of the issue right now in Albany is the Independent Democratic Caucus has not pushed for the full 10 points to be presented to the state Senate. Have you been in contact with Senator Valesky, and what's been your reaction to their decision not to include the abortion plan?
I have been in contact with many state senators from all parties saying that we are not going to pick and choose between which rights we are going to be entitled to. The courts of this country have said that we are entitled to Roe v. Wade rights, and as New Yorkers, we should have them codified. Don't let us say that we're only entitled to 9 of the 10 points. We're entitled to all 10 points, and if we don't get all 10 points, when we go to vote, we're going to make that an issue.
What's been your reaction to the fact that you have 4 Democrats for the Independent Caucus, most of them share leadership in the Senate, blocking that 10 plank from making it before?
Well, it's my understanding, Bill, that there's more than just 4 people, that there are a number of Republicans, chief among them Dean Skelos, who is the majority leader or the leader of the Republican Party, and he represents Nassau County, and there are a number of women voters in Nassau County, and as women become more and more of the voters of this state, people like Dean Skelos are going to have to stand up and be held accountable for that.
Do you think the Democrats involved will be held accountable?
I think everybody is going to be held accountable for this.
Are you worried that the abortion plan overtaken the entire bill and it will lose because of abortion, and then lose all the other
I think, Ellen, that my view is, and I think many of the views of people here in the leadership across the state is, we have 10 things that we believe our leaders should give to us, and we are entitled to those 10 things. So we're not going to pick and choose between rights. We're not going to say, oh, give us pay equity but sacrifice something else. Because we wouldn't choose between the right to vote and the right to marry. If the courts say we have that right, then we should have that right. Don't make us say we're not going to have that. If you decide that you want to pick and choose between the rights that women, New York women, are entitled to, then you will be held accountable for that in November when you run for re-election. Let me answer it this way. That I have been a mayor who has stood up forthrightly and been very honest and transparent with the people of the city of Syracuse about what I believe and why I believe that in the decisions that I make. So no Syracusan is going to be surprised that I'm standing up for these rights. And if that means that certain people won't vote for me because of that, so be it. But that's who I am. It was who I was 5 years ago before I was mayor. It's who I am now that I'm a mayor running for re-election. Anybody else? All right. Thank you all very much. Have a good day.
Thank you all very much.